The moment everything Shanged the gallery was alive with the soft murmur of conversations and the gentle clink of wine glasses against each other. Zara Montenegro stood near her latest painting, a swirling masterpiece of blues and silvers that seemed to capture the essence of ocean storms. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant bun, and her emerald dress complemented her olive skin perfectly. She watched as art enthusiasts moved through the space, their eyes drinking in her work with appreciation. This was her night. After 3 years of struggling to make a name for herself in the competitive art world of San Francisco, she had finally earned her first solo exhibition at the prestigious Meridian Gallery. The reviews were already calling her work breathtaking and emotionally profound. Everything she had worked for was finally coming together. Zara accepted congratulations from another visitor, a wealthy collector who promised to consider purchasing one of her pieces. As the woman walked away, Zara allowed herself a moment to breathe and appreciate how far she had come. Her small apartment studio, where she had painted by lamplight for countless nights, felt like a distant memory now. The crowd was beginning to thin as the evening progressed, and Zara found herself relaxing for the first time in hours. She moved toward the back of the gallery, where her most personal piece hung. It was a portrait she had never intended to display, a painting of a man's eyes that she had created from recurring dreams. The eyes were intense, almost hypnotic, painted in shades of amber and gold that seemed to glow under the gallery lighting. She had painted those eyes dozens of times over the past year, always waking from dreams she could never fully remember. The gallery curator had insisted on including the piece, calling it her most powerful work. Now, standing before it, Zara felt that familiar flutter of unease mixed with longing that the painting always evoked. "You captured them perfectly." The voice came from directly behind her, low and rich with an accent she couldn't quite place. Zara turned around, and her breath caught in her throat. Standing there, not 3 feet away, was the man from her dreams. The same amber eyes, the same strong jawline, the same dark hair that fell slightly across his forehead. He was real, solid, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that made him look like he had stepped out of a magazine. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" Zara managed, her heart beginning to race. This couldn't be possible. People didn't just appear from dreams into real life. The man stepped closer, and she caught the scent of his cologne, something woodsy and masculine that made her head spin slightly. "The eyes in your painting," he said, his gaze never leaving hers. "You captured them exactly as they are." Zara looked back at her painting, then at the stranger. The resemblance was impossible to deny, but it made no sense. "I painted this from imagination," she said slowly. "From dreams I've been having." "Dreams," he repeated, and there was something almost sad in his voice. "Is that what you call them?" "Zara, my name is Dante Castellano, and I've been trying to find you for a very long time." The sound of her name on his lips sent a shiver down her spine. "How do you know my name?" "I mean, obviously it's on the exhibition materials, but you said it like..." She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. "Like I've said it 1,000 times before," Dante finished softly. "Because I have. In dreams, in hopes, in whispered prayers that I would find you before it was too late." Zara felt the world tilt slightly. The gallery, with its white walls and carefully positioned lighting, suddenly felt surreal. "This is impossible. You can't be real. I made you up." Dante reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. He handed it to her with hands that she noticed were slightly trembling. "Your mother gave me this before she died." The photograph showed a young woman who looked remarkably like Zara, standing next to a man who could have been Dante's twin. They were both laughing, the woman's hand resting on her obviously pregnant belly. Zara stared at the image, her mind reeling. "That's not possible," she whispered. "My mother died in a car accident when I was born. My father died in the same crash. I was raised by my aunt." "Your aunt told you what she thought was best," Dante said gently. "What she thought would keep you safe. But Zara, your parents didn't die in an accident. They were murdered because of who they were, because of the world they belonged to." "The world you belong to." The photograph trembled in Zara's hands. The woman in the picture had her eyes, her smile, her delicate bone structure. and the man looked so much like Dante that it was unsettling. "Who are you?" she asked, though she wasn't sure she was ready for the answer. "I'm the son of your father's best friend," Dante said. "Our families were bound together by loyalty, by blood, by promises that span generations. I've been searching for you since you were taken away as a baby, hidden from those who would use your heritage against you." Zara's legs felt weak. She looked around the gallery, at the normal people admiring normal art, living normal lives. Everything she had believed about herself, about her quiet existence as an orphan artist, was crumbling around her. "This is crazy," she said. "People don't just appear from dreams. Families don't have mysterious heritages. I'm just an artist from Oakland who got lucky tonight." Dante stepped closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his amber eyes. "Look at me, Zara. Really look at me. Tell me you don't feel the connection between us. Tell me you haven't been dreaming of me, painting me, feeling like something was missing from your life." Zara stared into his eyes, and suddenly the dreams came flooding back. Images of this man reaching for her across a vast darkness, calling her name, trying to warn her about something. She had woken from those dreams with tears on her cheeks and an ache in her heart that she couldn't explain. "The dreams," she whispered, "they've been getting stronger lately, more vivid. Because I've been getting closer to finding you," Dante said. "The connection between our families is ancient, powerful. Even separated by distance and time, our souls have been calling to each other." The rational part of Zara's mind rebelled against everything he was saying. But looking into his eyes, feeling the pull between them that she couldn't deny, she found herself wanting to believe. "What do you want from me?" she asked. Dante's expression grew serious, almost pain. "I want to keep you safe. There are people who have been looking for you. People who want to use your bloodline for their own purposes. They're closing in, Zara. The fact that your dreams have been getting stronger means they're close to finding you." "What bloodline? What are you talking about?" Dante glanced around the gallery, noting how empty it had become. "Not here. It's not safe to explain everything here. But Zara, I need you to trust me. I know how this sounds. I know how impossible it all seems. But look at that painting you created. Look at how perfectly you captured a man you thought you had never met. That's not imagination. That's memory, buried deep but struggling to surface." Zara looked back at her painting, at the eyes that had haunted her dreams and now stood before her in flesh and blood. Every instinct she had developed over 26 years of taking care of herself screamed at her to walk away, to dismiss this as an elaborate con or delusion. But there was something in Dante's eyes, something desperate and sincere, that made her pause. "If I listen to what you have to say," she said carefully, "if I give you 1 hour to explain this impossible story, what happens then?" Dante's expression softened with what looked like relief. "Then you get to choose. You can go back to your life, and I'll do everything in my power to protect you from a distance. Or you can come with me and discover who you really are. Learn about the parents who loved you so much they died protecting you. Understand why you've always felt like you were searching for something you couldn't name." Zara's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. Everything logical told her to walk away. But as she looked into those familiar amber eyes, she felt something she had never experienced before. She felt like she was coming home. 1 hour, she said finally. "You have 1 hour to convince me that this isn't the most elaborate pickup line in history." Dante's smile was brilliant, transforming his serious face into something breathtakingly handsome. "1 hour is all I need." As they prepared to leave the gallery together, Zara took one last look at her painting of his eyes. Tomorrow, she might wake up and discover this had all been an elaborate dream. But tonight, she was going to follow the pull in her heart and see where it led. The moment everything changed had arrived, and Zara Montenegro was ready to embrace it. Secrets unforgettable. Hours later, Zara found herself in Dante's penthouse apartment overlooking the San Francisco Bay. The space was elegant yet warm, filled with antique furniture that looked European and expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city lights twinkling below like fallen stars. She clutched a cup of coffee in her hands, needing the warmth to steady her nerves. Dante sat across from her in a leather chair, a folder of documents spread on the coffee table between them. The photographs and papers he had shown her painted a picture so incredible that she was still struggling to process it all. "So let me understand this correctly," Zara said, her voice still shaky from everything she had learned. "My real name is Zara Benedetti, and my family has been part of an ancient organization for over 5 centuries. An organization that protects supernatural artifacts and maintains the balance between the human world and things that most people believe are just myths." Dante nodded, his amber eyes never leaving her face. "Your father, Alessandro Benedetti, was one of our most skilled guardians. Your mother, Isabella, was a seer who could predict threats to our world. Together, they were investigating a group that wanted to steal powerful relics and use them for personal gain." Zara looked down at a photograph of her parents on their wedding day. They looked so young, so happy, so alive. And they were killed for trying to stop these people. Yes, but not before they managed to hide the most important artifact these criminals were after. The Benedetti family has been its guardians for 3 generations, and the location of its hiding place died with your parents. "Except for me," Zara said quietly. "Except for you. The information was sealed in your memories, protected by your mother's abilities until you came of age. That's why you've been having the dreams. Why you've been painting images from a life you don't remember. Your inherited powers are awakening." Zara set down her coffee cup with trembling hands. "Powers? You're telling me I have supernatural powers?" Dante leaned forward, his voice gentle but urgent. "Zara, think about your art. You've always painted things before they happened, haven't you? Storms, accidents, moments of beauty that occurred days or weeks later, exactly as you depicted them. You thought it was coincidence, but it wasn't." The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. She had always attributed her uncanny accuracy to artistic intuition, but now that he mentioned it, the pattern was undeniable. The painting of the gallery fire that had happened 3 months after she completed it. The portrait of the couple she had painted who later got engaged in front of her building. The storm scene that had matched perfectly with the weather system that hit the Bay Area the following week. "This is insane," she whispered. "I know it's overwhelming," Dante said, moving to sit beside her on the couch. "But Zara, you're in danger. The same people who killed your parents have finally tracked you down. They've been watching you, waiting for your powers to manifest fully so they can force you to reveal the artifact's location." Zara looked up at him, seeing the concern and something deeper burning in his eyes. "How long have you been watching me?" 3 years, he admitted. "I've been protecting you from a distance, making sure they couldn't get close to you. But they're getting bolder now, more desperate." 3 years? Zara's heart skipped. "You've been watching me for 3 years, and you never approached me before tonight?" Dante's jaw tightened. "I was trying to give you a normal life for as long as possible. I knew that once I told you the truth, everything would change. You'd never be able to go back to being just Zara the artist." Something in his tone made her study his face more carefully. "That's not the only reason, is it?" Dante looked away, running a hand through his dark hair. "No, it's not. Tell me." He was quiet for a long moment, and when he looked back at her, she saw vulnerability that took her breath away. "Because I've been in love with you since we were children, and I was terrified that when you learned the truth about our world, you'd want nothing to do with it. Or with me." Zara's heart stopped. "We knew each other as children? Until you were 5 years old. Our families were close, and we were inseparable. You used to follow me everywhere, always asking questions, always trying to keep up with whatever I was doing." Dante's smile was soft with memory. "You were the brightest, bravest little girl I'd ever met. And when you were taken away after your parents died, when your aunt convinced the authorities that our family's world was too dangerous for you, I promised myself I'd find you again someday." Tears sprang to Zara's eyes. Somewhere deep in her mind, she could almost remember a dark-haired boy who had been kind to her, who had made her laugh, who had promised to always be her friend. "I remember," she whispered. "Not clearly, but I remember feeling safe with someone. Protected. You were always safe with me," Dante said softly. "And you always will be." The intensity of his gaze made her breath catch. There was longing there and desire, but also a deep tenderness that spoke of years of patient waiting. "Dante," she said, her voice barely audible. "What happens now?" "That depends on what you choose," he replied. "I can arrange for you to be relocated somewhere safe, somewhere they'll never find you. You can start over with a new identity and live a quiet life. But the artifact your parents died protecting will remain lost, and eventually, these people will find other ways to gain the power they seek. More innocents will die." Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "Or I can help you find the artifact first. It would be dangerous. These people are ruthless, and they have resources we can only dream of. But yes, with your inherited abilities and the knowledge locked in your memories, we could find it first and ensure it never falls into the wrong hands." Zara opened her eyes and found Dante watching her with an expression that made her heart race. "If I choose to help you, what happens between us? What do you want to happen?" he asked quietly. She studied his face, seeing past the careful control to the hope and desire he was trying to hide. "I've been dreaming about you for months, painting you, feeling like part of me was missing. Now find out we have a history I don't remember and a connection that spans decades. Zara, I'm not the same little girl who followed you around," she continued. "I'm a grown woman who's learned to take care of herself. But looking at you now, being near you, I feel something I've never felt before." "What do you feel?" She reached out and touched his face, marveling at how right it felt. "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Dante's control snapped. He pulled her against him, his mouth finding hers in a kiss that was desperate and tender and perfect. Zara melted into him, her body responding to his touch as if it had been waiting for this moment her entire life. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I love you, Zara. I've loved you since we were children, and I'll love you until the day I die." "I love you too," she whispered, the words feeling as natural as breathing. "I don't understand how or why, but I know it's true." Dante's smile was brilliant. "Then you'll help me? You'll trust me enough to walk into danger with me?" Zara thought about her quiet life, her safe apartment, her predictable routine. Then she thought about her parents, who had died protecting something important, about the dreams that had been calling her toward this moment, about the man in her arms who had been searching for her for years. "Yes," she said firmly, "I'll help you. But Dante, I need you to promise me something, anything. Promise me that whatever happens, we face it together. No more protecting me from a distance. No more keeping secrets to keep me safe. We're partners in this." Dante's eyes blazed with love and admiration. "Partners," he agreed, sealing the promise. With another kiss. They held each other in the soft light of his apartment, the city sprawling below them like a carpet of dreams. Zara felt her old life finally slipping away. Tomorrow, they would begin the dangerous work of uncovering her buried memories and finding the artifact her parents had died to protect. But tonight, she was exactly where she belonged, in the arms of the man who had never stopped looking for her, ready to embrace a destiny she was only beginning to understand. Love against all odds. 3 weeks had passed since that night in Dante's apartment, and Zara's life had transformed completely. They had left San Francisco the next morning, traveling to a secluded estate in the mountains of Northern California where Dante's organization maintained a safe house. The Victorian mansion was beautiful but fortified, surrounded by gardens that had sophisticated security systems. Zara had spent days working with Elena Vasquez, a skilled therapist who specialized in recovering suppressed memories. Through careful hypnosis and meditation techniques, fragments of her childhood had begun to surface. She remembered her parents now, their faces clear in her mind for the first time in 20 years. She remembered their love, their dedication to their mission, and most importantly, she had begun to remember where they might have hidden the artifact. The Benedetti Codex was an ancient manuscript that contained the locations and protective spells for dozens of supernatural relics. In the wrong hands, it could unleash chaos on the world. In the right hands, it was humanity's greatest protection against forces that would destroy the balance between realms. It's here, Zara said, pointing to an old map of Northern California, spread across the dining room table. In my dreams, I keep seeing the same place, a cave system near Lake Tahoe, marked by 3 standing stones arranged in a triangle. Dante studied the map, his expression serious. That's near the old Benedetti family cabin. Your parents used to take you there every summer, remember now, Zara said softly. The cave was our secret place. My father used to tell me stories. They're about brave knights protecting magical treasures. He was preparing you, Dante realized. Even as a child, he was teaching you about your family's legacy. Zara nodded, feeling a deep connection to parents she had thought lost forever. We need to go there tonight. In my latest dream, I saw dark figures approaching the cave. They're getting close. Dante took her hand, his thumb stroking across her knuckles. Zara, once we retrieve the codex, there's no going back to a normal life. The organization will expect you to take your parents' place as a guardian. It's a lifetime commitment, and it's dangerous. I know, she said, meeting his eyes steadily, but it's who I am. It's who I was always meant to be. Over the past 3 weeks, their relationship had deepened beyond anything Zara had ever imagined possible. They had spent hours talking about their shared childhood, about the years they had been apart, about their hopes for the future. They had trained together, with Dante teaching her basic self-defense and weapons handling, and they had fallen deeper in love with each passing day. There's something else, Dante said, his voice carefully neutral. If we're successful tonight, if we recover the codex and neutralize the threat, the organization will want us to undergo the binding ceremony. Zara frowned. What's that? It's an ancient ritual that permanently connects 2 guardians, allowing them to share their abilities and protect each other, even across great distances. It's usually performed between partners who have proven they can work together flawlessly. That sounds practical, Zara said, though something in his tone suggested there was more to it. Dante's cheeks flushed slightly. It also creates an unbreakable bond between the 2 people involved. In the old days, it was only performed between married couples. Zara's heart skipped. Married couples? The ceremony essentially makes you spiritual spouses in the eyes of the organization. Your life forces become intertwined, your destinies linked forever. Dante looked down at their joined hands. I want you to know that I would never pressure you into something like that. If you want to be a guardian on your own terms, I'll support that completely. Zara was quiet for a moment, processing what he had told her. Then she lifted his chin with her free hand, forcing him to look at her. Dante, do you want to undergo this ceremony with me? More than anything, he admitted, but only if it's what you truly want. Not because the organization expects it, not because it would make our mission easier, but because you want to bind your life to mine. Zara felt tears spring to her eyes. I've been alone my entire life, believing I had no family, no one who truly understood me. Now, find out I have this incredible heritage, these abilities, this purpose I never knew existed. And through it all, you've been beside me, patient and supportive, and so incredibly loving. Zara, I want the ceremony, Dante. I want to bind my life to yours, because I can't imagine a future without you in it. You're not just my partner in this mission, you're my soulmate. Dante's smile was radiant. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her with a passion that made her head spin. When they broke apart, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. I love you so much it scares me sometimes, he whispered. Good, Zara replied with a grin. A little fear keeps things interesting. They spent the afternoon preparing for their mission, checking weapons and equipment, reviewing the cave system maps, and coordinating with the backup team that would remain at a safe distance. As the sun began to set, they loaded into Dante's modified Jeep and began the drive to Lake Tahoe. The cave was exactly as Zara remembered from her recovered dreams, hidden behind a waterfall in a secluded canyon. The 3 standing stones were still there, weathered by decades but unmistakably arranged in the triangle her father had shown her so many years ago. This is it, she said, her voice barely audible over the sound of rushing water. They made their way carefully behind the waterfall, using high-powered flashlights to illuminate the cave system beyond. The passages were narrow and treacherous, carved from ancient rock that seemed to pulse with its own energy. "Can you feel that?" Zara asked as they moved deeper into the cave. "The power?" Dante nodded. "The codex is definitely here." They found the chamber, after 20 minutes of careful navigation. It was a natural cathedral, carved from stone, with walls that seemed to shimmer in their flashlight beams. At the center of the space stood a stone pedestal, and on it rested an ornate wooden box that practically hummed with magical energy. "There," Zara breathed. "That's it." As she approached the pedestal, memories flooded back with crystal clarity. She remembered her father bringing her here one last time before her parents left on their final mission. He had shown her the box, explained its importance, and made her promise to keep its location secret until she was old enough to understand. "I remember now," she said softly. "Everything. The night they died. The promise I made. All of it." She reached for the box with hands that trembled slightly. The moment her fingers touched the ancient wood, energy coursed through her body like lightning. Images flashed through her mind, visions of the future, glimpses of the battles to come, and most clearly, a scene of herself and Dante standing together in a circle of light. Their hands joined as ancient words bound their souls together forever. "Zara?" Dante's voice seemed to come from far away. She blinked, finding herself still standing by the pedestal, but with the box now glowing softly in her hands. "I saw it," she said wonderingly. "Our future, the ceremony. We're going to be happy, Dante. Whatever challenges we face, we're going to be happy." Dante's relief was palpable. "Then let's get out of here so we can start that future." They made their way back through the cave system, the box secured safely in Zara's pack. But as they emerged behind the waterfall, they found themselves facing 5 armed figures in black tactical gear. Well, said the leader, a tall man with cold blue eyes. "The lost little Benedetti finally comes home." Dante immediately positioned himself between Zara and the armed men, his own weapon drawn. "Vincent Cross, I should have known you'd crawl out of whatever hole you've been hiding in." "Hello, Dante. Still playing the noble protector, I see." "Stand aside. We only want the girl and what she's carrying over my dead body," Dante growled. Vincent smiled coldly. "That can be arranged." The next few minutes were chaos. Gunfire echoed through the canyon as Dante engaged the attackers, while Zara used her newly awakened abilities to shield them both. She found that she could anticipate their enemies' movements, seeing their actions seconds before they occurred. When the smoke cleared, Vincent and his men were either unconscious or fleeing into the night. Dante had taken a bullet to his shoulder, but was still standing, his face grim with determination. "We need to go," he said. "They'll be back with reinforcements." As they drove away from the canyon, the precious codex secure between them, Zara reached over to touch Dante's uninjured arm. "Are you all right?" "I'm perfect," he said, glancing at her with eyes full of love. "We did it, Zara. We actually did it." "No," she corrected softly. "We're just getting started." 1 month later, Zara stood in a circle of ancient stones on the grounds of the organization's headquarters, wearing a flowing white dress that had belonged to her mother. Dante faced her in a formal black suit, his shoulder fully healed and his eyes bright with joy. Around them, members of the organization held candles as Elena Vasquez spoke the binding words that had been used for centuries to join Guardian partners. The ceremony was beautiful and moving, but all Zara could focus on was Dante's face, the love and devotion she saw there, and the absolute certainty that this was her destiny. "Do you, Zara Benedetti, promise to bind your life, your power, and your soul to Dante Castellano, to stand beside him in light and darkness, in peace and war until the end of time?" "I do," Zara said firmly, her voice carrying across the circle. "And do you, Dante Castellano, promise to bind your life, your power, and your soul to Zara Benedetti, to stand beside her in light and darkness, in peace and war, until the end of time?" "I do," Dante replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Then by the ancient laws and the power that flows through all guardians, I pronounce you bound as one. What was separate is now joined. What was individual is now shared. May your union bring strength to our cause and joy to your hearts." As Elena spoke the final words, light erupted from the circle, surrounding Zara and Dante in a golden glow that seemed to come from within their very souls. Zara felt the connection form between them, a bridge of energy and love that would never be broken. When the light faded, Dante stepped forward and took her in his arms, kissing her with all the passion and tenderness of a man who had waited his entire life for this moment. "I love you, Mrs. Castellano," he whispered against her lips. "I love you too, husband," she replied, marveling at how right the words felt. As their friends and fellow guardians cheered around them, Zara looked up at the stars above and felt her parents' presence blessing their union. She had found her family, her purpose, and her soulmate, all in one incredible journey. The future stretched ahead of them, full of challenges and adventures, and the sacred duty of protecting the world from forces that would destroy it. But they would face it all together, bound by love that had survived separation, danger, and the test of time itself. The question Dante had asked in her gallery that night had indeed ended everything she thought she knew about herself. But it had also begun everything she was meant to become, and she had never been more grateful for a moment that changed everything. The profound moral of this story teaches us that true growth requires the courage to embrace uncomfortable truths about ourselves. Zara's journey illustrates that sometimes the most frightening revelations lead to our greatest discoveries. Trust your instincts, even when logic tells you otherwise. Zara's dreams and artistic visions were calling her toward her destiny, just as our intuition often guides us toward what we need most. The story reminds us that love and trust go hand in hand. Dante waited years for Zara, respecting her journey while protecting her from afar. Our past doesn't define our limitations. It reveals our potential. Zara learned that her ordinary life was actually preparation for something extraordinary. The story emphasizes that real love supports transformation rather than demanding conformity. Dante never asked Zara to remain small or safe. Instead, he encouraged her to embrace her full power. Most importantly, partnership multiplies strength. Together, Zara and Dante accomplished what neither could achieve alone. The binding ceremony symbolizes that true commitment means choosing to grow together through every challenge. The ultimate message: sometimes losing everything you thought you knew is the only way to discover everything you're meant to become.